Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. And it is a big week in the world of rugby. The Rugby World Cup draw will take place on Wednesday. We will be live for the draw as well, by the way. So if you're new, please do make sure you subscribe to the channel. Come and join us. We will have a live stream with all the pools, all the teams, updating it live as we go on Wednesday and sort of talking through exactly how it is all going to work. It is a brand new format for the 2027 World Cup. 6 pools of 4 teams, 4 bands of teams that cannot be drawn between each other. A predetermined draw in the fact that Australia will be in Pool A, and a very complicated playoff system with the introduction of a round of 16, which means that there will be additional matches in the tournament itself, but also makes it very complicated with regards to who different teams play in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the final. Now, supposedly, it has been designed so that it kind of balances it out, and any sort of advantage you get in the quarterfinals gets nullified in the next round, and the likes of that. But it is quite complicated. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so the nice thing about this tournament is that we know who the teams are. You know, for the first time, I think actually ever, we've got no sort of, qualifier ones or Africa qualifier, the likes of that. Those are the 24 teams signed, sealed, and ready to go to Australia in 2027. And some really, really cool teams to see there. You know, the likes of Zimbabwe, for example, back in the mix. Hong Kong, China, Canada, back USA coming back. We've still seen the likes of Chile and Portugal. I really enjoyed watching Portugal last. I think Spain's a big addition to this World Cup. Unfortunately, Belgium couldn't quite get over the line. Almost replaced Samoa. It would have been a very interesting result had that gone. But as you can see there are 4 bands. Now, how this works is that all the bands will be drawn to different pools, which means if you're at the Springboks, you cannot be drawn with New Zealand, England, Ireland, France, or Argentina. What it doesn't mean, however, is that we can't be drawn against, for example, Australia, who are the top of band 2. That's completely random. Once these rankings have been done, it's completely random. And a lot of people, including some of the SuperSport broadcasters, kept saying that's how it works. It doesn't work. All your world ranking means is it goes into the top band. After that, it's completely random. So South Africa could still be drawn with Australia, Georgia, Samoa, which are the highest ranked sides. So that would kind of be a pool of death, inverted commas. We could also be drawn with Japan, Tonga, and Canada, which from a world rankings thing would be the easiest possible group you could get. So that's kind of how the draw is going to work. And obviously, there's only going to be 3 pool games. So you're going to be playing, for example, so let's say you get the group of death, you play Australia, Georgia, Samoa, that is it. Whereas in the last tournament, for example, the Boks played Romania, Tonga, Ireland, and Scotland. So they had to play 4 group games. However, there is an additional playoff game. So it kind of balances it out. But there are actually more games across the tournament. Not many. I think it's an extra 4 games and the likes of that who sort of will play. So, yeah, basically all 4 of these teams are going to be drawn into 6 different pools. Pools A, B, C, D, or F. Okay? And that means that instead of 48 games in 2023, there'll be 52 games. Because after that, we're going to go into a playoff thing like this. Now, this is where it gets a bit complicated. This is where I need you guys to stay with me here. So basically, it's mirrored across the different sides of the draw, of the playoff draw. Now, if you are a winner of the pool, you will play either the 3rd place of some of the pools or else a runner-up of the pools. And this is where it gets a little bit unequal, because if you come first, you will play either a 2nd team play side or a 3rd team play side. Now, there is a counterbalance, but let's explain how that works. So if we look at round of 60 on the left-hand side, your Pool A winner will play the best placed 3rd of CEF, of Pool CEF, okay? So the best 3rd between them. Pool B winner will play the best 3rd between DEF, okay, between those 3. Then Pool C runner-up and Pool F runner-up will take on each other. So that's 2 versus 2. So this is where you are a runner-up and you're taking on another runner-up. So you kind of avoid playing a Pool A winner. So it sounds quite unfair. How can you finish top of the log and play a 2nd place side, for example? If you're a Pool E winner, for example, you play Pool D runner-up. So you can play 1st and 2nd, or as a 1st, you can play against 3rd. But if you finish 2nd, you can also play against another team that played 2nd. That's where it gets a bit complicated. Traditionally, it was very, very straightforward. It was quarterfinals, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 2. So if you finish top of your log, you play against team finishing second on the log. That is not a guarantee. If you finish top of the log, you might play team finishing second, or you might play team finishing third. Similarly, if you finished second, you might play against a team that finished. You're going to play against a team that finished second as well. So that's where obviously it gets a little bit complicated, because you could be 2 versus 3, 1 versus 3, or 1 versus 2. So as you can see over here, on the top on one of those two there are 2 winners, 1 versus 3. Below that are 2 versus 2 and 1 versus 2. Same on the other side. The top two over there are 2 versus 2 in runner-ups, and a 1 and a versus 2. And then you've got a Pool C winner versus a best of third, and another Pool D winner of a best of third. However, the counterbalance is that if you are a Pool F winner, so if you're number 1 and you're playing number 2 in another group, so if you're Pool F winner and you're playing Pool B runner-up, you will play the winner of Pool A runner-up versus Pool E runner-up, which means that 1 versus 3, so it gets complicated. 1 versus 3 and 2 versus 2 means that if 1 wins, they'll play a second place side from the pool stages. Whereas if you've got Pool A winner versus Pool C, E, F best third, and Pool B winner versus Pool D, E, F best third, it means you could be a Pool A winner versus Pool B. So you can go 1 versus 3, 1 versus 3, and then play 1 versus 1 in the quarterfinals. That is the counterbalance mechanism. So in many ways, it's an interesting position. Where do you want to be? You probably want to play potentially a runner-up and have a more difficult round of 16 game, and potentially than you might have if it's a third place side, and then have a potentially much the same kind of quarterfinal versus having maybe an easier quarterfinal, round of 16 game, and then having a very difficult quarterfinal. So for example, if you're South Africa, and depending on where things happen and all the draw, you might play, for example, Australia in the round of 16. If you win that, it means you'll probably play one over Fiji, Scotland, HC, Wales, or Japan. Whereas if you are South Africa and you play against a band 3 side, a Georgia, Uruguay, like so that in your round of 16, it means that you will likely play a band 1 winner, unless the band 3 winner beats them. So, for example, South Africa will you'll always avoid number 1, but the question is, you might meet a New Zealand in the quarterfinals, or else you might only meet New Zealand, England, Ireland, France, or Argentina in the semifinals if you get a favorable sort of draw and the likes of that. It's very complicated. It's unnecessarily complicated, if you ask me. But that's basically how it works. So once we have the draws, for example, be able to kind of simulate. And tomorrow we're going to be doing a simulation of how it might look and kind of get an idea of exactly what it sort of looks like. But it's very complicated, to be honest. As I said, you can finish 1 and play against 2, or play against 3. You can finish 2 and play against 1, or play against 3, or play against 2. It's very, very strange. So what do you think of the draw? Where do you stand with this whole thing? I just think that we've just overcomplicated things unnecessarily. We'll obviously only really be able to know what it's like come 2027. That's the big thing. Whenever you have these kind of new systems, these new draws, you can basically create these sort of simulations which clearly show where maybe the issues are and where the issues might arise, but you'll only know for certain come the World Cup in 2027. And I think that's what's going to make things quite complicated, if I'm being perfectly honest, because there's so many different scenarios to sort of factor in. I think that's the biggest problem with this sort of draw system, is that there's so many, from a planning perspective, you could be playing, obviously, if once you get your draw, you'll kind of know. So if you're in Pool F, for example, as the box, you can kind of look at Pool B and think, right, we're likely to play the runner-up if we come second. If not, if we are the Pool F runner-up, we're playing the Pool C runner-up. So once you got the draws, you'll be able to kind of map what your most likely route is. But there's still a lot of potential different things that can go on with the way this all works. So what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.